Prepping your gate. Metal grate start, just make sure that there's no real big dirt clumps wedged in the expanded metal so that you don't get that wheel spin. So if you're allowed to use a tool on the start, a lot of times you're not, yeah, you can take a little brush and make sure all that dirt's off. Otherwise, just make sure the expanded metal is clear of any dirt. Cement start. You want to make sure you take a broom and get all the dirt off the cement the best you can. Another tip with this is some riders will do a couple little quick spins of the tire just to heat up the rubber in the tire to get a little bit better grip on the cement. In my experience of racing amateurs and doing cement starts, that did seem to help just a little bit. You don't have to go crazy, don't waste your tire, but just a real quick couple of quick ones, get that tire nice and heated up, should help. Prepping the dirt start. This one takes the most amount of time. What I always used to do is I would fill in the rut and pack in the rut the best that I could. Also, you're gonna take the area where the gate would drop and really dig it out the best you can so when the gate does drop, you don't have to ride up over the gate. So I just filled my rut in, just packing her on down. And that's usually the best bet because like I said, it kind of can make it, if you're smart about it, so that you don't have that much of a lip going up the starting gate. The smaller wheels you have, 65s, 85s, especially 50s, you gotta be super careful of this because hitting that gate abruptly will send everything out of whack. It'll make the suspension compress and unload, your body will get shifted out of position.
Hey guys, we just released new tour dates at tour.themotoacademy.com. I just had a baby, took a couple months off. I'm coming back to it. So we just released a bunch of new dates featuring yours truly. And we have new dates featuring our head coach, Mitchell Prescott, as well, all over the country. So if you didn't have a class near you in the last few months, go check the site, tour.themotoacademy.com, for the best training in motocross.
So it's important that you have as little disruption as possible while going over the gate. So we're starting with both feet on the ground in front of the foot pegs. You want to make sure that you can touch. If you can't touch the ground, use blocks, use rocks, whatever you need to so that we can balance evenly and we don't end up in a situation where we're putting 1 foot down, one foot up. The problem with going 1 foot down and 1 foot up is it is much easier to go sideways when you come out of the gate. If we're using blocks, if we're a taller rider and it is easy for us to touch, make sure that the weight isn't in our feet when we're sitting there on the start line. We want 100% of the weight, 99% of the weight to be into our butt, only 1% in our feet just to simply balance there evenly. I see so many riders, especially if they're in a situation where they have a deep rut that they're sitting in or these giant blocks that they're able to stand on, they will stand and put the weight into their feet and then when they accelerate, they'd fall into their butt and now they're sliding off the back of the bike. Hole shot devices on the front fork are certainly helpful. What I recommend is set them a little bit lower than what the recommendation is that comes from the factory. You want to make sure that your front fender is getting fairly close, maybe about 6 inches from the front tire. If you're barely setting it, only a couple of millimeters, it's honestly not going to make that big of a difference. In Supercross on the metal grate, we'll set them extremely, extremely low, so low to where we actually have to have a brace so that it doesn't rip the fork guard out of the bolts. And because we're getting that much traction on the metal grate, we set it as low as we can. It's an inexpensive accessory that you guys can put on the bike that does truly make quite the difference. It keeps that front end down, and then when you go to get on the brakes going into the first corner, it will release, and then you're on your way. Just like I say to maintain the same position for metal grate, for dirt, and for cement, I would also recommend using the hole shot device equally the same for all three, just so we're not playing around with too many variables.